need to finish the second one and wrap up topic 2, consumer choice theory, and then you are ready for the first physics. So this week we don't have tutorial, so this week just lecture and self-study. Okay, and next week probably on Wednesday we have the second tutorial, and then move on with producer choice theory. But basically the first physics cover topic 2, topic 1. So today my tentative schedule, and I sent to Jan. We are preparing for the physics and questions. So just want to notify you that if there are new anything that we update, I will inform you as soon as possible. I have your email. So the midterm test would cover the equilibrium in the market. So basically the supply and the demand curve. So we almost finished with the demand curve, but we also need to talk about the producer choice theory. We talk about the supply curve. When we talk about consumer, we talk about the demand. We talk about the producer, we talk about supply, and we combine both together. We have the equilibrium in the market. So your midterm test will be on the first week of December. So in class, person test, in person in class, closed book probably, and closed book. More detail, I would inform you when we drafting the test. And the assessment due on 19th December. So the video recording. Okay, so basically you will record a video and to talk about the market, the supply and demand. So due on 19th. And then the second quizzes come on 24th. So before Christmas. And then because we have a midterm break here, the New Year holiday. And after that, we have 2 more weeks and your self-study week, and then final exam. And we finish everything in January of 2026. And you can go home for the New Year, hopefully. So basically, so we have 2 quizzes. So each contribute 2.5%. 2.5%. Okay, so 2 weeks to on the first one and second one. So we have 2 quizzes. So basically, 2, so equal to 5%. So 2.5%. And then we have midterm assessment, 50%, right? So the midterm test, midterm test 1, so we contribute 30%, and then the final exam, so 50%. Okay, so please, so when we open the quizzes, finish it all time. So normally we give you 1 day to finish it, and quite easy to get that kind of 5%. Okay. So we finished the first 2 points topic 2, last week we talked about the budget constraint, we talked about multiply, we talked about preferences, the utility function. We talked about, so in the tutorial that you went to the to the board and plot the multiply, something like that, right? And today we will harmonize these two points in together to come up with the optimal consumption. Okay, so basically when we interact the multiply, so the multiply represents the budget constraint, your limited income. Okay, and then now we have something called the indifferent curve that represent the utility functions. Okay, and now we interact the two lines together and we get the optimal consumption $100 for each consumer. And we have time to talk about the income and the substitution effect. Why the demand curve does not always slow downward, like I said in the first lecture. Okay, sometimes it slow downward, but sometimes, most of the time it slow downward. So higher price, lower quantity of demand. But sometimes it slow upward. Higher price, so higher quantity of demand. Okay, and they ask about the leisure and labor supply and the choice between consumption today and tomorrow. That's what we're talking on Friday. Okay? Labor market. How many times that people should work a week, something like that. So another trade-off, basically another trade-off. Okay. Okay, so we did a housekeeping, but basically for last trimester, so I need to update it. Okay, so what does it mean? Let's start with this figure. What does it imply? What does it imply? What does it indicate? The Spotify #1 top trending song on Spotify throughout 2020. Okay, so how many singers that you know here? So I know Billy Eilish, I know The Weeknd, I know Drake, I know Randy. She's going to Vietnam, right? I know Lady Gaga, I know Taylor Swift. Cardi B. That's it for me. Probably you know better than me. So what does it mean? So people just search this kind of song over year in 2020, top 10 song in 2020. So basically, no time to die. So I got crazy with this song. I was in New Zealand 2020 in the pandemic. You know, like we are in isolated. So I listen it every night. So to drink a cup of wine, better for my sleeping when I was in the pandemic. Lonely in New Zealand. So no family, no friend, no anyone. No time to die. So basically, for each song, so we see a common pattern here, right? What is the general pattern? So it first increase, so reaching the peak. So maximum. So basically, the first derivative equal to 0 here. So reaching at the peak, so the turning point. And then it's go downward when the new song comes up. So we have new song here, and I take over the position of the previous song. So that's possible. Like it's 1 degree and new song comes up. It's 1 degree, new song comes up. Okay. So what does it mean? So why? Because the taste, the preferences of listener change over time very quickly. So people, consumer, the listener respond to the market. respond to what people like, respond to social influence, respond to the trends in the society. So many things change, and the consumer quickly change their preference. Like the consumer also change, respond very quickly to the changes in terms of income and prices of goods and services. So that's a good start for us. Okay, remember that the preferences and the consumer choice change over time. Okay, so we assume that the consumer are rational and they make optimal decisions at different time point. Okay, because many things change, income change, the price of goods change. So we will look at how to choose optimally. Okay, so if we are rational, we have perfect information. One of the main assumptions in economics. Okay, so we are rational. We have perfect information. So we face two constraints. So there are two things that we need to consider to make an optimal decision. The first one, the budget constraint. You have limited income. You cannot buy everything. Okay. The second, your preference. Okay, your taste. So basically, different kind of good bring different level of utility, and even like different level of utility for different kind of customer, consumer. Okay, an iPad probably bring home. So more happiness than me. That's why I don't. Even if I have money, I don't buy an iPad. Okay, but if like the Apple like discount the price, let's say like 5 million, but I bet I would probably go for one. For trying, okay, for experience. But I don't have iPad lover. Don't bring me much happiness, even if price. So we have budget constraint. Budget constraint depend on your income and depend on the price of the good. Okay. So we look at the limited budget and preference at the same time, and so basically we harmonize the 2 points together. What we talked last week. So basically we understand the reason behind that, and formally model the optimal choice. So both mathematically and graphically. So given a limited budget, which handle goes the consumer purchase to maximize their total utility. So that's a common question. That's the optimal choice questions. So Frank has a budget of $21, and he wants to spend it on going to the club. So basically music, and we call that a good one. Or go for basketball games, and we call that a good two. So you have two categories. So as usual, we assume a consumer have they want to spend money on. So we model two goods. It's easier for us to model two things. Okay. We spend money on a lot of things, but assume that we only have limited income of 21 and have two goods to continue to spend money on. So how to make optimal choice? Okay, and that's the question. So how to allocate the income to maximize the total utility? We are trying to maximize our total utility. Okay, so this is the example. We want to get the highest possible marginal utility per dollar. Okay, when we make the decision and the margin. Okay, so on the first half, we have that represent. So basically, we have a first half and second half. The first half represents the trips to club. So the number of visits should spend money on, and then the number of basketball games per week that we should spend money on. Frank should spend money on. Even his limited income is $21. So we have the number of unit of goods that we consume, trips and the games per week. We have total utility, we have marginal utility, we have the price of each good. Because the income, $21 in total, and the price of good determine your budget constraint. Okay? And now we talk about the utility. So as you can see that it's kind of good, give you a level of utility, and it has its own price. So we have something new here. So what is the marginal utility? Somebody can recall me what is the marginal utility one more time? Okay.
The duty you get more when you consume an additional goods.
Yeah. So basically the additional and extra satisfaction, happiness you get from consuming one more unit of good. Okay, and that's the decision and the margin. Okay, that's the first reason. So basically we have something. So this one, please note this one. This one is the key to make the decision. We have something called a marginal utility per dollar. So the MU, marginal utility, over the price of the good. Okay, so here the first trip to the club music club. So basically we have a total utility of 12. So basically it gives you the unit of utility, and it's no unit of measurement. Remember that in utility we just allocate a number to rank your utility. Okay, so basically unitless, no unit of measurement. So 12. The first trip brings you 12 level of happiness. The first trip to a basketball game brings you 21 level of utility. But if you divide by the price of one game, basketball game, you only get the marginal utility per dollar is 3.5. Okay, so what does it mean? And then same here, similarly here, if you divide the total utility of the first trip to the club by the price of the ticket, you get $4. So basically 4 marginal utility per dollar for the first trip. So what does it mean here?
We should choose the good way because it gives more satisfied with the least money.
So basically the question is what the marginal utility per dollar represent for. The marginal utility that you gain from additional dollar that you spend on that kind of good, right? So if MU over B, marginal utility per dollar on the first trip to the club is 4, and that's greater than the marginal utility per dollar on the first game of basketball. So basically your first dollar you should spend on music, because it brings you higher marginal utility per dollar. So that's a common rule for us to make the optimal choice. So when you choose a combination of good, all good here, good 1 and good 2, you should make the marginal utility per dollar equal across goods. So the marginal utility per dollar should be the same for both goods, and that's the optimal choice. Here, why? Because if the marginal utility per dollar of, let's say, the good 1 is still greater than the good 2, so rational consumer just spend more, consume more, that's kind of good 1, and consume less good 2, because it brings you higher marginal utility, higher total utility as well. Okay, so the first $3 should spend on music chip, but because when you go for music club, more and more the law of diminishing marginal utility works, right? And that's why for, let's say for the number $4, the fourth one, if you keep spending on music, it brings you only 3.3 marginal utility per dollar. So instead of spending number $4 on music trip, you should spend money on passport game. Okay, number $4 should spend on passport game. It brings you higher marginal utility per dollar. The process keep going up until the last dollar that you spend on any good one or good two bring you the same level of marginal utility, and that's the optimal choice. Okay, so that's something we call the equi marginal principle. So equi means equal. When we say something equi, it means equal. Okay, equilibrium. Okay, so the consumer maximizes her or his utility where she receives the same marginal utility per dollar from both. Or you can say the last dollar spent on both goods bring you the same level of marginal utility. That's the optimal choice. Okay, and we can generalize by MUX over P for price X equal to MUY over price of good Y. If the consumer receive more utility per dollar from consuming good X than good Y, then they just increase the utility by buying more X and less Y. So that's common sense. Okay. So buy more X, the MUX decrease because EMU. Okay. And then if she buy less Y, the MUY increase. Okay. So we flip, and then consumer should continue. So basically, the process keeps going up, and you have to choose to avoid that the spending bring you the same level of marginal utility per dollar for X and Y, and that's an optimal choice. Consumer could continue to adjust their consumption so that the marginal utility over price of X decrease, and then for Y increase until they are equal. So this is called the equi-marginal principle. And a bundle of goods X and Y bring you the same level of the last dollar spending on X and Y. That means the person derive the same satisfaction per dollar of expenditure from each good. You are the optimal choice. You are maximizing your total utility. You are maximizing your total happiness, total satisfaction, given your budget constraint. And when I say about your budget constraint, we are talking about your limited income and the price of good. Okay? So with this equilibrium, there is no way for you to reallocate your spending to achieve higher utility level. No way for you to better off from this equilibrium. Okay. Don't forget to check out the video on equi-marginal principle. So I will give you some time to check out all the videos today. So now let's formalize the equi-marginal principle. So optimal choice is a point where our budget glide is tangent to the highest possible indifferent curve. Do you remember what is tangent? Tangent? You guys still remember? That's kind of common concept in mathematics. Do you remember what is tangent?
Maybe something about a I think so.
No, it's not cross intersect.
Yeah.
But basically, if you say I2 is tangent to the vertical line, it means there's only one point of intersection between these two lines. Between, remember, tangent. So there's only one point of intersection between the two lines. Okay. So let's we have something like this.
Yeah.
Tangent. Okay. So now, keep that in mind. And when you are at the tangent, the slope of the two lines are the same. The slope of the two lines at the tangent point are the same. So that's the property of tangency. Okay, please help yourself review what you learned in high school. Okay, now the optimal choice in a bundle of goods, let's say two goods with y and with x, and the tangency, the tangent point, where the IC is tangent intersect with the vertical line. Okay, so can somebody review me what IC means, what indifferent curve means? Just talk about it last week. Somebody help me, please. Phượng, do you want to help me? So, Win, can you help me? Yeah, but so can you give me some property of the IC?
Each curve solves the same utility.
Same level of utility. Okay. So basically, anything else? No. Anything else? Any important property of the IC? So basically, how about you, Hinan? Yeah, that's good. That's good. Anything else? Hung? Any other property of the IC? No. That. How about you? Huy. Sorry. You are that. Huy. Hùng, right? And Bảo. Okay. So Huy, can you help me? Give me the property of the IC in different curve.
So basically, the slope, it gets flatter as if
It flatten out onto the right? Yeah. Anything
because
else?
The DMU.
Yeah, it represents the DMU. That's right. Anything else?
So
That
the
kind of.
two points under the same curve is the same.
Pardon? So any point on the same curve give you the same level of utility. Yes.
Here's one.
That's it. Anything else? Wow. Okay. So that's good. When I invoke all of your property, one of your point that give us all the property of the IC. So basically, the indifferent curve is all the combination of goods with x and with y give you the same level of utility. So here, so we consider a lot of good y, but very few good x, right? But if all point here, you consider a lot of good x and very few good y. It bring you the same level of utility. Okay, so that's why we say people are indifferent. Indifferent in terms of people are indifferent in terms of preference over the utility. So for here, consider a lot of good y or a lot of good x here bring you the same level of happiness. Okay, so the people are indifferent in terms of preference across the ICs. Okay, so that's the first property. The second one, higher IC bring people higher happiness level. So higher ICs give you higher utility. So each IC give you one level of utility, but higher IC give you higher level of utility. Okay, and then you talk about EMU. That's why the ICs flatten out to the right. So you consume more good white, bring you lower level of utility, diminishing marginal utility. That's why it's flatten out. Okay, that's good. So can somebody now let's talk about the property of a tangent point, the property of tangency. So remember that at the tangency, point P, the tangency. The slope of the vertical line represented by BL. BL for the vertical line, but a straight line here, right? Represent your vertical construct. Any void inside the shaded blue area is affordable. Okay? Any void outside the shaded area is unaffordable. You cannot buy any void outside the vertical line. Okay? So at the tendency point B, the slope of the vertical line equal to the slope of indifferent curve. I see. Okay. So now, what is the slope of the vertical line? Can somebody review it? You read the note of Jan, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think I wrote something on the board last week. When we formalize, we solve the basic function. When we solve the quantity of y to the quantity of x, we have the intercept and the slope, right? So what is the slope of the vertical line?
The chain of good it divided with the chain of good e.
So the relative price. The slope of the vertical line is the relative price of good x and good y. How much cut of good y you have to trade off, you have to give up if you want to consume more good x, or vice versa. Right? And that kind of trade-off depends on the relative price of good x and good y. So last week we have an example like, so one ticket of music concert. So a guys have $200 in total, and they want to go to music or go to Thai meal, right? A meal cost him $20 for each, and a music visit cost him $10. Okay, so if they want to consume like one more Thai meal, they have to give up 2 music visit, because the price of Thai meal double the price of the music, right? Okay, so please review what we did on the tutorial last week. So now the slope of the vertical line is minus bx over by. It is slope. Okay, the bigger qy over qx. Okay, so please solve the formula that I wrote for you. Review what we did. I think you take the note, right? So what I wrote on the board last week. So this is the word that slope. Okay, and what is the intercept? So I minus by. If you spend all of your money on good y, this is y. The maximum quantity of good y that you spend all money on good y and no for good x, right? Intercept and slope. So what is the slope of the IC? Can somebody give me the slope of the IC? We are a little bit slow. Can you help me? What is slope of the IC? Yeah, very good. So basically the slope of the IC in the negative MRS. MRS for marginal rate of substitution. And why it's negative? Because both the multiply and the IC slope downward. That's why we have a negative here. Okay. So that's it. And what is the marginal rate of substitution, MRS? What is the MRS?
The rate at which a customer could trade one good for another while maintaining
The same level of utility. Okay? So MRS equal to what? To which? Somebody can help her. So how about you? We. So what is MRS?
I think that's if the MUY increase and MUX decrease, the MRS will decrease again. That's the right.
Marginal rate of substitution, right? The rate of substitution of x for y. So basically, if you substitute x for y, you consume more x. So the marginal rate of x decrease, and the marginal of y increase. Okay. So that's the marginal rate of substitution. So basically, it's equal to mu x over
mu y minus.
Okay. And then we have minus for negative flows. So both slow downward. And at the tangency, the marginal rate of x then so both have negative, so it's disappeared, right? So we solve for x, and you can see that we have mu x over bx, right? Equal to mu y over the price of y. And that is what we call between marginal principle. The marginal utility per dollar for the both goods are the same. The marginal utility per dollar, so the marginal utility per price of each good are the same, and that's the optimal choice. So we just demonstrate, prove. So basically, we just prove the equal marginal principle. Right, right. You okay? Okay, so now intuition thing. So let's talk about intuition. Intuitively, what do you think that OIP bring you the highest happiness, the highest satisfaction, given your budget constraint?
The first that we maximize our progress. The second that we maximize our utility.
Okay, so at the optimal choice, you spend all of your income. When you spend all of your, when I say you spend all of your income, you are on the vertical line. Okay, not any boy inside the second area. Second one, you rich, you try to boost your happiness as high as possible. So for B, you get the highest satisfaction given your vertical line. So how about boy A and boy C? Boy A and boy C. Why boy A and boy C are not optimal choice? Why? Boy A and boy C are affordable because they are in the vertical line. They are affordable, right? You still spend all of your income at boy A and boy C, but because boy A and boy C are in IC1 and IC1 is lower than IC2, you do not maximize your utility. So boy B is still better than boy A and boy C. Although boy A and boy C are affordable. Okay? Same here if like any boy here like inside like here, something like this. So you are not spending all of your income and also not maximize your satisfaction as well here. Okay? How about any boy on here? I see 3. So although any boy on IC3, you have a higher utility, but they are not affordable outside your budget. So anyway, overall, boy B is the best choice given our limited budget constraint. Okay, given our limited income, boy B is the best. So we can maximize our utility, and also we have a limited budget, limited income that constrain us to any boy like for on IC3. Okay, you cannot spend outside the budget line. So for B is the best, and that's the key marginal principle. The marginal utility per dollar are the same across goods that you consume. Okay. So basically we just combine together what we learned last week, the budget constraint and the utility function. So we combine the multiply and the indifferent curve, and we reach the optimal choice. Okay. We get the highest satisfaction given our limited income. And also, please review some like simple mathematical concept that we learned in high school, like tendency, derivative. It's very useful. So when basically when you learn economics, that's good to learn about derivative. to make optimal decision. Now, we have puzzle here, or Yanko mystery. Because the price of good increasing, the demand of that good increasing as well. Why? Because normally we expect that if the price of a good increase, the quantity of demand would decrease. So that a downward sloping demand curve. So let's say if price of breakfast increase, so probably we may have breakfast at home, something like that. Eggs, instant noodles, something like that, to save money. When the price of something increases, the people consume less. Right? Does it make sense? Okay, but what happens if when the price of goods increases and the demand of that goods increases as well? So, what is going on here? So, for example, when the price of rice, so something increasing, people buy more rice. So, rice, instant noodle, bread, potato, something like that. So the main example, a classical example of inferior good, something inferior good, something very like essential for our daily life, but very cheap. Okay, very important, very essential, but very cheap. We call it inferior. Good. So today, to answer this question, we have to learn about the income and substitution effect. So when the income effect dominate the substitution effect in the market of inferior goods, we may observe when the price of goods increase, people buy more goods. Okay, so now let's talk about move to the second part of this lecture. So one by one. First, let's talk about substitutes and complements. So two goods are, so two substitutes for goods. So when the price of one good increases, the demand for the other good increases by versa. We call that substitutes. So the good that can serve at a, so basically when the price of one good increase, the people switch to other goods. They replace the good with the price increase with other goods. Okay, we call that a substitute. For example, German car, German car. Okay, so when the price of like Mercedes in increase, people may buy more Toyota, Research, Honda, Accord, cities like that. So that's common sense, right? Can you give me some example of substitutes? Substitutes.
Noodle or rice.
Rice and noodle, yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, probably.
Milk tea or coffee. Milk tea or coffee.
Yeah, coffee and tea, that's good. Another example, probably. So, yeah. So, like in Vietnam, the people in the north consume more. Actually, it also depends on our behavior traditions. People in the north prefer probably, I think that they prefer coffee. So the people at my age often drink a lot of, tea. Drink a lot of tea. But here in the south of Vietnam, probably most of people at my age prefer coffee. You have more options like milk tea or I don't drink milk tea or the coffee and tea. Okay, so that's a good example of substitutes. So when the price of one good, let's say the price of coffee increase, probably people switch to consume more tea. The price of coffee increase, people switch to consume more tea. Okay, or let's say Highland and Starbucks. If the price of Highland increase, the people may go to Starbucks more. So that's substitute good. Okay. Complement. When the price of one good increase, demand for other good decrease as well. Okay. So when the price of one good increase, the demand of that kind of good decrease. And the price of the complement good decrease as well. We call them complement. For example, export and export games. So when the price of export increase, so the people buy less game as well. Or think about a phone and software. When the price of iPhone increase, probably people buy less iOS software, right? So that's a complement. Any other example? No. Give me some example of complement good. Something that you see in your daily life.
Toothbrush and toothpaste.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, although they are inferior good. So if like let's say, so for inferior good, let's say if the price of a toothbrush increase, do you have any other option except from toothbrush? So still like you still like just buy like one per quarter or something like that. So not much, but that's kind of example of complement. That's good. Or think about coffee and even condensed milk. Probably, yeah, something like that. Or anything else?
TV and Netflix.
TV and Netflix, yeah, that's a good example. So the price of TV increase, so probably the people pay less for subscription on Netflix. It's good. Complement good. So today is how we visualize the relationship between the income and the quantity of demand for normal good. Okay, and it is how we represent the demand, the relationship between the income and inferior goods. So now let's talk about normal goods, inferior goods. Okay, and the impact of income on the quantity of demand of normal and inferior goods. For normal goods, when the income increases, the people demand more normal goods. And when the income increases, probably people demand less inferior goods. Okay? So, it is a common sense, right? It's one we call as a counterintuitive. It's one intuitive because it is one common sense. So when you have, so you richer, you consume more. So you have a higher purchasing power, you probably buy more. Okay? When you buy more, you can push your indifferent curve outward. You have higher utility. Okay? For here, it's one we call counterintuitive. Because when people richer, actually people consume less inferior goods. Okay? So higher income, lower quantity of demand for inferior goods. So can you give me, so let's consider this kind of goods and see if should we consider them get normal or goods. So in New Zealand, when you go to Wellington, you can experience the one-way, so basically the train, railway, steel railway. So, or you can relate this one to the bus ticket in Vietnam. Okay, so let's say this one is bus ticket in Vietnam, or even metro in Vietnam. Okay, so this one is normal or inferior goods?
Inferior.
What do you think if the Vietnamese become richer, they have more income, they will consume more bus, they will travel every day more by bus or less? What do you think?
If I have money so much, I would travel less, but
Yeah, that's common sense. Okay, so do any guy go to campus by bus every day? We, yeah, so probably like normally we expect that. So when the people have a like high income, they consume like less kind of inferior goods because they have more option. Okay, so like
helicopter.
yeah, helicopter. Yeah, so basically because normally we observe that when people have higher income, the the ownership, the rate of people own a car increase. Sorry. So basically, when you have a higher income, probably people have more options that they can switch to private motorbike or cars, something like that. Okay, so that's the way that people behave. How about this one? Fast food. Fast food, inferior or normal good? Inferior. Yeah. Also notice that it also depends on individual and also depend on the society that we are living in. So I think it was done in the US. So fast food is inferior good. So or even in Israel. So very cheap compared to their income, average income. In Vietnam, McDonald's probably a little bit even like luxury, right? Compared to our average income. Okay, so that's a five. So this one is example of inferior goods. Inferior good. So when people become richer, they consume less fast food. They can go to restaurant like in the US. This one, similar. Sushi is kind of normal good, right? Sushi is normal good. But in Vietnam, probably luxury, right? But when you go to, before moving to New Zealand, if you want to talk, we can like have some chat it before you move into New Zealand, share with you some experience. So a package sushi box in Wellington is kind of inferior good. So when I doing my PhD, so I went for a sushi box for dinner very often. I got a discount, very cheap. So you can have a big box of sushi with only $5 New Zealand dollar. In New Zealand, $5 New Zealand dollar you cannot go to a food court because any kind of food they sell in the food court cost you at least I think more than 13 or 15 New Zealand dollar. So package sushi box is kind of inferior goods in New Zealand, but not in Vietnam. So let's call it a normal good, okay? So here, so when people like have more income, probably people go to restaurant, sushi restaurant in Vietnam more and same here, okay? When people have like it's one a normal good, high income, more consumption. And don't forget to check out the video on YouTube as well, no more video. Now let's talk about the real income. The real income is a set of goods and services available to a house and is determined by the prices and monetary income. Okay? Or you can say real income is the income expressed in things that you can buy. When people talk about the well-being, so how to say when we talk about the well-being of the people living across country in the world. So it's really hard for us to compare the domestic nominal income, right? Because the inflation rate, price level are different across country. Okay, because of the minimum wage and income are very different across country. So when people talk about, so in economics, when we talk about a well-being, the economics, they don't only consider the income, but what matters is how much you can buy, even that's kind of income. How many things that you can buy, even your income. So that's important. Okay. So instead of like asking that how much monetary income that people have and how many goods, the quantity of goods and services that the people can buy, even your income. And that represents your well-being. Okay. So that's the real income. So monetary income basically are the the normative income. The income expressed in terms of the money. Vietnam dong, New Zealand dollar, or USD. But here, we care about your purchasing power, the real income. How much goods that you can buy given your income. So we take the monetary income divided with the price level, the price of goods. Okay? So for example, if in previous example, if your monetary income is $200 and a meal costs you $20, music costs you $10, you spend all money on music. I would say your real income is 20 music. So 200 over $10 for music. Or if you spend all of your money on Thai meal, your real income is 10 Thai meal. Okay. So we express real income in terms of the quantity of goods and services that we get. Right. Okay. So basically about what we learned in budget construct. So the question is, so we have two questions here. What happens to real income when prices go down? And what happens to real income when prices goes up? What happens? The price. So as you can see that when the price level, the price of goods change. The price of goods increase, decrease or increase, it would affect your real income. Holding your monetary income constant. Okay? And remember that when the price of goods change, it rotates your purchase line. What we do in this tutorial. If your income change and the price level stay the same, it shifts the purchase line, outward or inward, right? But if the price of one would change, rotate, change is slow because change relative price. Okay, please review what we learned last week and the tutorial as well. So now, in this topic, when the price level change, go down or goes up, it has two effects on your real income. The first one, I would say the income effect. And the second one, I would say the substitution effect. Okay, so there are two kinds of effects that the price may affect the real income. So the first one, we call it the income effect. When a good gets cheaper, you can buy more product. So basically, you become richer. When the price of goods decrease, you become richer. You can buy more goods. That's an income effect. And vice versa, when the price of goods increase, you become poorer. You buy less. Okay. We call it income effect. Second one, substitution effect. It changes the opportunity cost on the relative prices. So let's say if one good, so we consume, so like as usual, we assume that we only consume two goods, one and good two, or good X and Y. If the price of good X decrease, or we say the good X become cheaper, what should we do?
We buy more.
When the price of good X decrease, the opportunity cost of good X decrease. Okay, that's why we consume more good X. Okay, and we call that as, and you switch from good Y to good X, and that's a substitution effect. Okay, because the relative price of good X to good Y decrease, so we consume more good X. And the same logic here. It is the substitution effect. Okay, so if the price of goods falls, so basically In terms of an income effect, household is better off, higher real income, and household buy more. Okay. If the price of a good falls, so basically the opportunity cost of that kind of good decrease. And that's we call that a substitution effect. If people still consume more, and buy more that kind of good. Okay. And when the price of goods increase, the household is still worse off. Lower real income and people buy less. Okay. Then when the price of goods increase, the opportunity cost of that goods increase, substitution effect, household buy less. Okay. For normal goods, the income and substitution effect work in the same direction. Okay, for normal goods, the income effect and substitution effect work in the same directions. Same direction means if the price decrease, so the income effect must make you buy more. Okay, and also for the substitution effect for normal goods. But for inferior goods, the substitution effect and income effect may work in the opposite direction. When the income effect dominates the substitution effect, the people may consume less. And that's why I say when the price of income increase, probably people demand more. Okay? The substitution effect is always intuitive. When the price increase, people may switch from price to other goods. So that's substitution effect, very intuitive. But the income effect works counterintuitive in this way. So when the price increase, so because the people become poorer, they cannot buy more. Okay? But when people feel that we are poorer, we are being poorer, so we cannot buy more. So we cannot switch to other food like meat, chicken, pork, beef, fish. And then they have to, even when the price increase, they have to buy more rice. So that kind of counterintuitive. Okay? And that's why for normal goods, the income and substitution effect work in the same direction, and that's why we observe a downward sloping curve for normal goods. Okay? And higher price lead to lower quantity of demand, and lower price lead to higher quantity of demand. Downward sloping curve. The demand curve always slow downward. Or basically the demand always slow downward forward. Today, if you represent the quantity here and the price here, so when the price increase, the quantity demand decrease. Today for the normal, more good. Okay, and for the inferior good, if income dominates the substitution effect, the demand may slow upward. When the price increase, the quantity increase. Okay, so I would say it's one. When income effect dominate, or you can say greater than substitution effect. So now, because this kind of stuff is quite a little bit complicated, because something is counterintuitive. For something intuitive like a normal good is easy for you. But for the inferior good, it's kind of counterintuitive. So I'd like you to spend time reading the exploring the material, all the material first. So, and I think that's my feeling is too much for today. So, so step by step, don't worry, okay? So I think that's enough. That's enough for today. You need time. You need time to study yourself and also reflect what we learned today first. And then next week I will finish. We will finish. On Friday we will finish all the stuff related to income and substitution effect, and move on with the labor market. Actually, the trade-off in the labor market is quite easy. So in topic 2, this one I find it probably most complicated for the student. Income and substitution effect. So now I'd like you. So I give you half an hour. So that's enough for lecture today. So please spend your time watching the video on Canvas. So okay. So now I'd like you to
This video is introduce you.
review all the video on Canvas and explore that. Explore all the
In the last,
equalizing the marginal utility dollars. We make the optimal choice. That's enough for today. So and explore more on, if you have time, so read the lecture slide and read in advance substitution and income effect. And we wrap up on Friday and move on with the leisure and labor supply. Okay, leisure and labor supply quite simple, probably simpler than substitution and income effect. Okay, so let's call the date. See you on Friday. Okay, so explore the video on Canvas and ask me any questions on Friday. All good? So you guys look a little bit you are look a little bit serious today. Are you okay?
I still don't understand about the substitution inferior good about its income
Yeah,
effect.
the inferior and normal good and yeah. So this is I will go back to this one on Friday, of course, 100%. So it is the stuff that I want to spend most of the time this week. So don't worry, because I feel it's too complicated now. So I want to stop. That's why I want to stop and give you some time to understand this one. Optimal choice for today and spend some time reading the material on the income substitution effect first. And then so that would help me talking about the total effect. Okay, if I switch to the graph on the total effect, it's too complicated now. I feel that. Okay, so let's one by one. So please go home, review on the watch out on the video in terms of optimal choice. Supplement and substitute and complement food goods and explore on the income and substitution effect. Okay, and then on Friday we will harmonize these together to explore the why we observe different patterns between normal goods and inferior. Okay. Thank you. See you. See you on Friday. This week we don't have tutorial. I will have no idea.